say, a big question is, what's out there? Is there any life out there? And logic would say, there has to have been at some time in the past, present, future, whatever. But the only thing we know is that we've got this out here, that we have it here, okay? That's what we have. And that's the reminder of the beauty of the life that we have. So long ago, at the beginning of all of this, there was a pure garden from whence all life sprang forth, the animals, the plants. And there was a council of the gods that saw this and thought, I think we need to find a way to order this a little bit better. As the animals go out, they come back to that source, they go out. I think we need to count everybody that's going in and what they take in and take out. Maybe we build a barrier, actually. We're going to build a gate to get back there. And we're going to make people trade stuff to get in and out, and that way we can have better control of that. Now, the animals clearly saw what was happening, and they didn't like this. And some went over, and some went under, some went around. And so the council of the gods met again and said, we have a problem here. People don't like it. So let's change the story behind what this is. Let's build outward. Let's plant these things that look like trees. And we're gonna use words that give this all life. All these barriers we're building, we're gonna make them look like life. We're gonna talk about it like it gives life, that it's the source of life. And we're gonna expand this forest that's guarding the source at the center. And little by little, as more were born, some were just born into a world that way. They had never even seen the center. Everything around them looked just the way it looked, and that was the story that they were told, that this is the way. That this is the way. We pay this price. This is how we get to the source of life, to the source of knowledge. We're told that this expansion in hands is the purpose. This is the pinnacle of our civilization and our society. This gives you safety. This gives you order. And this is the way it's meant to be. And so there were some birds gathering, and again, they were just born in this forest of man-made things and had no idea until they saw something flying very, very high. And they had never seen before, and it was carrying with it something that they had not seen before, that it looked like the things around them, but it looked more real. And they heard the bird's song, and it was new yet familiar, like somewhere they had heard that before. And so they started to ask a question. Now, I start with a story here because lately I've been reading a lot about the idea of myth. And myth as a story with symbols that can give meaning to our lives, to the things we see, the people that we meet. And this is the creation of myth and sometimes the undoing of myth. Now, myths are not meant to be taken literally. However, over time, when we have a really good one, we tend to just start taking it very, very literally. And then it gets boring, and it loses its meaning, and people may look at it and say, but that's not true, because the meaning behind it is then gone. It is written in a good book that for many years there was life on this earth, and then eventually humans opened their eyes. And when those eyes opened, what did we behold? When you consider what is beheld when your eyes really open to the world, what is beheld is not an easy wonder to affirm. When eyes opened, what did they see? They beheld living things consuming each other, life living on life. Thus, the first function of early mythology was to teach people to affirm and participate in that scene. Now, this is about early myth, but we also live in a time with myth, with story. And I'm not even talking about the religious myths that we know about, that we can study. It's the ones that we aren't really aware of. But if we had somebody come and visit us here and look at the way that we do things, the way that our civilization and society functions, what would those eyes behold? Living things consuming each other, competition, a false sense of purpose, and endless search for connection and meaning. Would they accept that? How could we ever convince somebody who just happens to come into here to say, oh yes, you should affirm this and participate in it? And I teach, and when I teach young people, whether it's children or teens or college-age students, I sense that there's this growing sense of, I don't want to participate in this. I see what's wrong with it, and I don't want to participate in it anymore. Also on the topic of myth, now this author was writing particularly about Christianity, but I think we can apply it here. He says that when the historicity of the facts to which the myth was attached was called into question, and the rituals were rejected, the civilization collapsed and a new civilization arose, inspired by new dreams, new visions, new beliefs, and expectations of fulfillment. So when people took the meaning of Christianity factually and literally, then many could say, but this can't be true, it can't be possible. And then all of that is rejected and something new needs to take its place. And I facts fall apart before our eyes, what do? A lot of times we'll say, I don't want to participate in this, and that's called laziness. I don't want to participate, I don't want to do anything. But from my experience and from almost everybody that I hear, they don't want to do nothing. Wanting to do nothing is a consequence of being overwhelmed. I see that people truly want to contribute something. They want to participate in something that builds, something that supports them and supports others. They want to do something, but it appears sometimes that those options are impossible. So when something's collapsing, when we reject this, how does that process work? I want to share another quote written in another good book. This is by Anais Nin, who said, "Life is a process of becoming, a combination of states we have to go through. Where people fail is that they wish to elect a state and remain in it. This is a kind of death." And for me, that's a big part of my story that I grew up with. Elect a state and remain in it. The idea that I want to make it in life. I want to accomplish this and get that, and then what? I've made it. I'm here. I've arrived. I'm happy. I have the comforts that I sought. This is where I want to be. And that's a very common story, and it's a very tempting story, right? I made it. I don't want to have to do all this other stuff anymore. Here I am. I've chosen this state, and I'm going to remain in it. And she says, this is a kind of death. So recently, I've heard this quote for many years, and I've written it down for many years. But recently, I had my own experience. I was with a new group of people that I hadn't met in kind of a spiritual type of setting, smaller group thing. And it was a really good experience. But I felt uncomfortable because I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. I felt, when you're with new people, sometimes you're like, it went really well, and other times you're like, I'm just such an idiot, I don't know what to say, I feel stupid, right? So as I was leaving, I thought, that was pretty good. I think I learned something, but then I just got really mad. And I was like, why am I mad after this experience? And over the next few days, I started to feel a lot of guilt and shame, like you're such an idiot. And it took me a while to sit with that feeling, to understand why would I feel guilt and shame after something like that. And what I found is that life was talking to me. Life put me in a new position that I was unfamiliar with, and life was telling me it's time to grow. It's time to learn something new. But deep within me is that sense that I'm supposed to accomplish something. I'm supposed to make it. And life was going pretty well, as it does for sometimes. You get these streaks where everything just seems great. So I was feeling comfortable. I was feeling confident, like maybe I've figured it out for the time being. And life put something new in my way, and I thought, great, am I being punished now? What did I do wrong? What happened that it's not good anymore? Why am I not comfortable anymore? You're not there yet. And I realized, no, I'm misinterpreting that voice of life that tells me, you're not there yet. There's a filter that the voice of life is coming through that tells me that. You suck, you're stupid, you're not there yet. You didn't make it yet. What life was really just saying is, it's time for you to learn. I'm giving you a new opportunity to grow. Growth is uncomfortable, but I'm giving that to you. So that misinterpretation comes from the idea that I'm supposed to make it. So I've then come to question, is that even a goal that we should have, to try to make it, to try to get there, make the accomplishment, get whatever it is, get comfortable, stay comfortable, protect that comfort, and live out the remainder of our lives. But yet, I agree that if you do get there, it's great. Enjoy it, all right? Enjoy accomplishments, enjoy that little time. But if you stay there, this is a kind of death. And life, perhaps, is calling you onward, calling you to let go of some of that comfort to move on somewhere else. And I've learned this also with healing. If you've ever been injured, it's important that you find somebody who knows how to help you with your injury. Because if you've broken a bone, it's going to need to stay very still. If you've hurt a muscle and you keep it still, don't ever move it, don't touch it, don't do anything, you may avoid some pain, but it's never going to heal. So you need to go through that discomfort, that pain, and be willing to step into that on the inward journey to be able to move on to something greater. I heard recently that if you seek truth, you might find comfort. But if you seek comfort, you will never find truth. And the Sufi poet Attar, speaking of those who seek after love, who have felt love's power and are willing to give up everything for that, he says, safety is the enemy of love. So when someone says, well, yes, I want that, but I also want to be safe, and I want to stay here, and I want this. Safety is the enemy of finding that love. I also was talking with a friend recently. He has many more years of wisdom than I do. And I was talking to him about this idea of, again, wanting to participate in life, but not always wanting to participate in all this other stuff. And I said, I don't expect that there's going to be some job or some thing that I do that's just going to answer all my questions and fulfill all my dreams, and it's just a perfect match for who I am. But I want to move toward living my life in harmony with that which I believe, with the values that I have. Again, I don't think there's an instant jump to that, to just perfection and light all the time. But I said, I want to move toward that, and I'm really curious about how people, over the years, how they'd move toward that. And they don't stop moving toward that. They keep, and he was somebody that I thought he really seems like he lives a genuine, fulfilling life. So I asked him,